Very savvy defensive player, so I mean, quite naturally you have to pay attention to him. You have to be very cautious with the ball and make sure that you don't put it out there where he can come out and steal the ball. I have to rank him right up there with one of the good defenders in the league.
Eddie Charles Jones, born October 20th, 1971. Today's feature in the 90s was a silky smooth player, arguably just a smidge ahead of his time. His story is the perfect example of how professional sports work, in that you can be positioned to reach your full potential, and in just a season or two, another guy comes behind and challenges that spot. What do? Well, when you're caught in a situation of such, naturally your mindset is or should be not to let that young bull eliminate you from contention. Usually, with the work you put in and a little poise, you'll overcome it and see the success you once envisioned. Unfortunately, in Eddie's case, that young Italian Philadelphia Bull was to be one of the greatest players in NBA history, and in many books, the second best shooting guard of all time, Kobe Bryant. In his first few seasons in the league, Jones was seen as a possible heir apparent to Michael Jordan, just as many were in contention to be at the time. But more than that, he was literally the first Kobe. Same size, style, ability, began careers with the same team, and even eerily resembled one another in appearance. And for both, destiny was set. One was to build a career you dream of as a young hooper, and the other slowly faded away into the basketball clouds of solid career, unanswered expectations, and a journey across the league with your talents rarely even remembered. But I remember Eddie Jones. Dunked on almost every player you can name, blocked MJ to gain his respect and signature, endorsing you as his next brand athlete. Things were supposed to go a lot better for Eddie Jones, and they didn't. Very long, respectable career, but here's why ultimately his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth. Ash, get him! The greatest gift you can ever give a person is motivation. For a creator, it's for our mind what water is to the universe. The greatest love you can show a creator is to stimulate their mind and motivate them to continue creating. Thank you, Wale, for giving me that love, that motivation. Welcome aboard. Eddie Jones is a 6'6" shooting guard from Pompano Beach, Florida, that flew under the radar in high school, buried below some names you may remember or not. He chose small Atlantic 10 Temple as his college choice, along with a few other future NBA players, Aaron McKee and Rick Brunson, father of NBA second-round pick Jalen Brunson. At Temple, Eddie became a star for the Owls, helping lead his team to the regional finals his second year. In his third and final season at Temple, he led his team, averaging 19 points a game, 7 rebounds in over 38 minutes. By then, it was clear that this naturally gifted guard, with one of the most fluid jumpers you'll ever see, was made for the NBA and should make the move immediately. He did, and was selected 10th overall by the Los Angeles Lakers because Jerry West grew so fond of his pure athletic talent. Jones entered the league to a middle-of-the-road Laker team looking to regain its spot atop the champions list. Eddie was supposed to come in and become a big part of the franchise's future and possibly become an also-highly praised Laker great. Stunt number 1, stuck on the train tracks. Early in his journey, Jones was pacing his way to meeting those expectations until he found himself stuck on the wrong train tracks and a fast-moving, all-black, stealthy train fueled by the need not to just be a good pro, but the best that ever lived headed his way. It had the pedigree, the motivation, the hunger, and most importantly, the talent to run through anyone. It was a threat. Maybe not in Eddie's eyes, because he welcomed him with open arms, but in all reality, that's exactly what it was. That threat, that fast-paced, newer model train, was a young Bean Bryant. Kobe was drafted into the NBA in Eddie's third season in 96-97 as the 13th overall pick, and no question, the biggest draft day steal of all time, being traded from the Hornets to the Lakers for Vlade Divac. It was at this point the writing was all but on the wall for Jones, who was no longer the new kid in town with potential star power. Kobe was the young prodigy with the attitude to match, and potential-wise, it doesn't get much bigger. In the 90s, everyone was looking for the next Michael Jordan, but none really fit the mold. Then here comes this guy that it seems Michael engineered himself. He was young, he was ready, and was simply just better. Eddie was the second leading scorer on the Lakers team that year, making his first All-Star team, and the following year, with Kobe upping his scoring more than 8 points and making a slow but steady gain on that vehicle in his path, the team saw enough to know what could be. Jones made his second consecutive All-Star appearance in 1998, averaging 17 points a game and shooting 39% from three. Kobe averaged almost the same numbers across the board in 10 less minutes. The beginning of their third season together in a lockout-shortened year began to show that the franchise had accepted that the Kobe train had only began to accelerate and had the engines for the long haul. After 20 games with the Lakers in the 98-99 season, Eddie Jones was traded to the Charlotte Hornets. He was averaging 13.6 points a game to Kobe's 20, 5, and 4. But things weren't all bad for Jones, as he went to Charlotte and made another All-Star team in 2000, averaging 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, and leading 2.7 steals a game. Even though Kobe had the necessary talent and star qualities to embrace the LA expectations and shine next to the most dominant big of the era in Shaquille O'Neal, Jones could have been an interesting mix with Shaq and may have even seen the same team success. Shaq was that dominant. Many don't remember how good Eddie Jones was and that he was a 3-time All-Star. A lot of that was because the emergence of Kobe Bryant stunted his growth and ran through that vehicle stuck on his train tracks. Stunt number 2, leaving Charlotte for Miami. By 2000-2001, Jones was a 3-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA defensive team, and All-NBA third-team selection. After becoming a free agent, he wanted to play for his hometown team, the Miami Heat, instead of re-signing with the Hornets that were in the middle of the playoff pact and building a roster that could make some noise in the East, with a solid 6 players averaging double figures and headed upwards. Jones fit perfectly as their leading scorer and all-star pedigreed player. The team agreed to a sign and trade and saw him leave for Miami, where his production declined due to injuries and his third stunt, which we'll speak on later. For his first 3 seasons with his new team, he was a borderline all-star, and the team was in and out of the playoffs. For some reason, although Jones was playing well, it just wasn't good enough to get him over the hump and solidify him as a top player in the league like he once had the potential to be. He played just 47 games in 2002-2003, but still led the team in scoring at almost 19 a game. The team was 32 games under 500 and missed the postseason. The very next season, franchise legend Dwayne Wade entered the league and pretty much took over as the true star of the team. Eddie would play another season in Miami in 2004-2005, with Wade in just season 2, establishing himself as already one of the best players in the league and took over the team leading scorer role. Also, Shaquille O'Neal joined the team at the tail end of his prime. Eddie averaged 12 points a game and at 33 years old was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. The Heat won the NBA Finals the very next year, while Jones's team being swept in the first round. Stunt number 3, capped off. His third growth stunt, in my opinion, was that he just capped off as a player. And that's not to dim what he did in the league, because he was still one of the best shooting guards of his time and finished a long career averaging respectable numbers, achieving great success individually. But as a player, I think his potential wasn't as big as some may have expected with his talent and gifts. One can say he had every opportunity to become the player guys like Kobe and D. Wade became, who are regarded as top 3 shooting guards of all time. He was on the Lakers team before Kobe. on a Miami team before D-Wade, and both surpassed his production and never looked back. Eddie was waived by the Grizzlies and re-signed with the Heat in 06-07 in hopes of winning a championship, but due to injuries to Wade, the team fell short. He would sign with the Mavericks the next season before being traded to the Pacers and unofficially retiring. All in all, Eddie is that forgotten gem from the 90s, early 2000s that had all the talent to become a Hall of Fame player, but fell a few levels below. The level he landed was still a nice player, and his story should be remembered for how good he was on both ends of the floor and the talent he displayed nightly that for these reasons just wasn't enough. Wish him all the best, much respect. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.